they are still building in the place.
You're welcome back, and this is Democracy and the Rule of Law. Away from the Peace Corps bill, it's now time to discuss a new bill in the National Assembly, which is generating reactions from all Nigerians, and that is the hate speech bill, which stipulates that offenders are to die by hanging. And if this recent bill by the Nigerian Senate is passed into law, all hate speech offenders shall die by hanging upon conviction. Mover of the bill, Senator Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi, told lawmakers at plenary on Wednesday, February 28, that the legislation was a result of the growing concerns over the spate of violence and hate speeches in the country. The bill also seeks to establish an independent national commission for hate speeches, saddled with the responsibility of enforcing hate speech laws across the country, eliminating this menace and advising the president accordingly. Justice, hate speech bill, an independent national commission for hate speeches. Your take?
Okay, my take on it is that I don't know why they are so eager. Well, I'm sorry for maybe lying through my teeth. I know why they are eager. They are usually eager when it comes to taking away the rights and the power of ordinary citizens. Especially when they hear Section 39, that Section 39, the right to express themselves, the right of ordinary people to express themselves, they are usually very, very quick to take it out. And also Section 22 rights. And the reason why I'm so perplexed is we have bigger issues. Corruption is an issue that is bigger than what they call hate speech. Any day, any time. Corruption has done more harm to this country than what they call hate speech. And for me, when I'm talking about corruption and the Nigerian politician, I believe that Nigerian politicians are persons, they can look the Atlantic Ocean dry of water. They can look the Sahara Desert dry of sand. They can look the Arctic dry of ice. They don't see that. We've talked about special courts for corruption matters. Everything that goes into fighting corruption, they try to stem it. But hate speech, everything that gives right for the citizens to express themselves. And you have to also remember that the reason why this government is currently in power is because of the freedom of expression. People expressed themselves a whole lot in 2015. Pursuant to powers also provided in our constitution. And that is why this government is in power. So now that they are in power, they want to keep everything to themselves and try to brand anybody that has a dissenting voice or that says anything that they are not comfortable with. They will brand the person as a person who has made a hate speech and take the person straight to the gallows. That is not acceptable. One of the hallmarks of democracy is freedom of expression. And when a person or a set of persons are not free to express themselves, democracy has failed. It is now, it becomes autocracy.
All right, in the case where you say citizens are allowed freedom of expression, what if it is offensive and these opinions are hurtful? What category would that fall into?
We have law of sedition. We have libel. We have slander. We have so many of them provided for in our laws. You know, we have cases, and they have Atomwanko versus the states.
Absolutely.
That has to do with Jim Webo, the former governor of Anambra State, and Tifatomwanko, a chieftain of NPN then. I mean, we have all these laws. We have ways of checkmating false accusation. We can go to court. And courts will have remedies available for the person that has been offended. And we have ways of dealing with the person that committed the offense. So now coming up with saying that people shall die by hanging. I don't even know who even contemplated that. I don't want to use foul language. But for me, the person should be examined in the head. The person should be examined in the head. And again, this hate speech, how long has it been with us? How long has it been with us? What caused it? what is the genesis of hate speech in Nigeria? Have we been hearing about hate speech in Nigeria? When did this hate speech become a very national phenomenon in Nigeria? It was when this government came into power and started falling from the one. We can talk about hate speech without talking about breeders of hate, people that give birth to hate, speeches that give hate to hate, actions that give birth to hate, activities of the government that give birth to hate. Before people now started speaking using hate speeches, they said with President, I'm very, very sorry, but I have to be raw and go straight to the point. Hate came up with this government.
All right, but the person who sponsored this particular bill did say cases of religious and ethnic violence experienced in the past years in Nigeria informed this decision to sponsor this bill.
How the cases of religious issue we had in Nigeria, had that been from hate? It has a pure religious issue. What we call hate speech came with social media. It came even with last election. It even came with this government in power. It was this government in power that nobody called it hate speech then. We called it freedom of speech. It was freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Even the current Minister for Information used it a lot. He used a lot of ways to describe. They called the former president clueless. They called the wife hippopotamus, the wife because she's fat. They called him a lot of names. But the people were like, okay, this is election time. We know these things are not real, but then they're just like expressing. But if somebody has gone away to do it in a very malicious way, then you prosecute that person. I heard of this Chocolate City guy with a governor of El-Rufai. Yes, Makori. He was there in court. So now coming up with a law that checkmate people, they are trying to gag the people, they are trying to intimidate the people, they are trying to cause fears in the minds of the people. And that law will not pass through. But people will react to it. Because if you are talking about hate speech, do we have it in US? Do we have it in France?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Do we have it in China?
Of course.
Do we have it in all the developing countries of the world?
Now they're reacting to it.
Government should, instead they are widening the scope of their freedom of speech. Absolutely. They are widening the scope of their freedom of expression. Absolutely. Even in Israel, absolutely. Upon the level of Israeli, whatever they are still trying to investigating the president, the prime minister. So what we should do in Nigeria is a way to give people more powers to express themselves. Not government looking for an avenue to gag the people. And if they must do that, government should embark on actions that will unify the people. Actions that will not be prejudicial to the three parts, to the nature of Nigeria. Actions that will not be interpreted as being biased. Also, you cannot beat a child menacingly and also try to gag the child from crying. That's wickedness. So what government should do is to come up with policies that people will see as being efficient, having semblance of equality, fairness, justice. When people commit crime, you face them squarely. Like what somebody wrote the other day. I'm not trying to be a person. They said they carted the word up girls, 105 people, up to Niger State, no security checkpoints. They go from Lagos here, from the back of Shagam here to Imo State. You encounter 1,000 checkpoints. Where are our checkpoints? Why should they cut away those people? Why should you push checkpoints where we don't have issues? From Benin, there is no issue. There is no issue. There is no issue. Down to Anambra, then you push more than 1,000 checkpoints there. But people bundled 105 girls up to Niger State, no security checkpoint. And then when they start speaking, they say they are raising hate. You have appointments. People said appointments are lopsided, and they started fighting on social media. It throws our youths. People like us might be professional in the way we express ourselves, but youths will start fighting. Igbo and Hausa will fight, Yoruba and Efik will fight, Efik and Ijaw will fight, Ijaw and Kanuri will fight, Kanuri and they'll be fighting there verbally. So what we should do is to guide ourselves and look at the conducts that might create hate amongst our people and avoid them. Maybe somebody should go all out to become malicious, to become evil. Absolutely. The person should be prosecuted in accordance with that extant laws already. I will deal with that.
All right. I know there's no absolute freedom of speech anywhere in the world. Okay. Now, should people not be held accountable for what they say? Sheon.
Okay, thank you for that. You know, part of in answering that, you also mentioned it. There is no absolute right. You know, even as a 200 level law student, you are taught that. So the fact that I have freedom of speech, do you understand? My freedom of speech is curtailed by your own freedom, you know, of dignity as a person. So I can't just look at you and say you're a goat. Do you understand?
you can sue me. I have freedom of movement, but at the same time, the other person also has freedom to own property. So I can't just walk into your house, you can sue me for trespass. So there are no absolute rights all over the world. So it's not like people are being reckless, or if you say they're reckless, you know, like you said, hate speech is not just a problem facing Nigerians. Hate speech is a problem that is ravaging the world.
But you believe it needs to be tackled?
It needs to be tackled, and that's what I'm going to.
Okay.
Now, when you come up with that penalty and say it's death penalty that you want to give for it, it will show that your people are the most irresponsible in the world. Because, you know, when I got the invite for this program, I was looking at other serious countries of the world, what they've done in tackling, you know, hate speeches. None of them has given death penalty, you know, for
it's
hate
quite
speech.
draconian.
Do you understand? You have, you look at the US, they don't even have any punishment for now. You have places where they have 5 years. The maximum that I saw online was 5 years. Do you understand? And you have other things that are bedeviling this country, which are bigger than hate speech, just like what he said. You know, and I was thinking, now this, you know, everybody knows where this bill is coming from. You know, my people, I'm Yoruba, they say the witch cried last night and the child died this morning. We all know that, you know, the child
witch
was
that cried yesterday.
6 months ago,
Child.
we had the Minister of Interior saying they are going to sponsor an executive bill.
Yes.
He said it, which is going to tackle hate speech. I'm sure somewhere along that, someone would have told them, don't do this, let them not know that we are the ones doing this. So they went through the back door and they are bringing through a senator, but we know where it's coming from. And this is a government where there are other issues that need to be tackled. You know, when I was coming, I was thinking, why not? We have corruption facing us. Let's even take, you know, when we mention corruption is very big. If we feel that death penalty is what will make Nigeria work, there are people that should die first before people that are propagating hate speeches. One, you know, I was coming from the church, and today is Thanksgiving in most churches, and I saw people coming to give thanks, you know, for safe delivery of babies. Fantastic. But you know, in the US, in developed countries, that's no big deal. You go into the maternity ward and you come out. Because you know, big deal, people don't die.
You
but
have the
people
health facilities there.
So
but it's a miracle to birth in Nigeria.
Exactly, that's what I'm
yes,
saying. Bring a death penalty. And say, if anybody dies in a government hospital, let's see, you know, let's even see leave negligence for not providing drugs in a government hospital, for not having the amenities that should be there. Whoever is responsible for that government hospital, maybe it's the Minister of State for Health, or even the President, the person should die. You have bad roads, do you understand? Federal roads. If anybody dies on that road,
of bad roads.
do you understand? Because government has failed to fix this road, somebody should die for it. Do you understand? And that road belongs to the federal government under the supervision of the president. Somebody should die. Then we know that we are serious about killing people. There are people who should die first before people, you know, who are propagating hate speech. By the time you put that into law, we know that this country is working. I'm not going to die, you know, of bad road. Electricity issues is not what's going to kill me. Do you understand? Then you can now say you want to kill other people. If you think that killing is what is going to stop. I mean,
I quite get that. All right, let's look at the bill. For offenses such as harassment on the grounds of ethnicity or racial content, a culprit shall be sentenced to not less than a 5-year jail term or a fine of not less than 10 million naira or both. Harassment on grounds of ethnicity or racial content. And also, a person who uses, publishes, presents, produces, plays, provides, distributes, or directs the performance of any material, written or visual, which is threatening, abusive, or insultive, or involves the use of threatening, abusive, or insulting words or behavior, commits an offense. If such persons intends thereby to stir up ethnic hatred or having regard to all the circumstances, I don't have the complete, yes, but that's just about that.
Okay, to start with, you see these provisions you have just read out. I think they are even identical with some provisions
of the criminal code.
I think either 44, 46, 84, 86, and 88. 3 of those sections, almost word for word.
Can you imagine?
So why the waste of time? That's number one. And number two, when you hear things like, when government brings any law that brings fresh imprisonment terms and things like that, it beats my imagination. Let me tell you why. Because I also practice, and I know that our prisons are terribly currently congested
True.
with persons who are not supposed to be there. About 70,000 inmates, according to Jafar Ahmed, the controller general of prisons.
Prisons.
Apparently,
Yes,
I wrote in one of the national dailies with respect to this point. About 70% of them are not supposed to be there. You understand? So we have 70,000. Let's go into the mathematics of it. This country is a country of 180 million. There is no country on the face of this earth that can stand if 2% of its population decide to break some laws. 2% of Nigerian population will be about 3.6 million. In fact, 1% of the 1.8 million. And currently we can't even house 70,000. So when you hear prison terms like this, what comes to my mind is, first thing, bring a law to revamp our prisons. If you want to punish anybody that you think has done wrong, which is highly not necessary in this situation, this law is absolutely not necessary. But if you think you have a genuine matter or issue that you want to solve in society, and you want to use it to imprison people, which will attract imprisonment, first of all, reform our prison system.
Which is supposed to be a correctional facility.
Absolutely. See, thank you for even giving me that free of charge. It is not correctional. People are going there and becoming more hardened.
Yes.
I'm not even talking about the prisons. The places where they hold them temporarily. Go to SARS, the holding facilities in SARS. Go to the holding facilities in our police stations and see how Section 34 of our Constitution, which talks about the dignity of the human person, is being breathed. Human beings are now like animals. You can see in in a normal room, maybe 10 by 10 or 12 square meter room, you see close to 200 people. People cannot even lie down. They can't even lay down. They are standing. They cannot sit down. The facilities, go and check the facilities. Our prisons are more than 100 years old. They are more than 100 years old. Most of them, no new correctional centers being built, no new prisons being built, and no new ingenious ways of disciplining people. There are times when you don't have to sentence a person to prison. There's something called community service, or some other way of punishing a person. Just get them to have that conviction on their records, so that they will not be able to enjoy some other benefits. That is enough. You do not have to now persecute them or even take their life. Let me talk on that removing life. In the best of societies, America inclusive, with their fantastic criminal procedure, they have a 4% error rate when they sentence people to death. Meaning that out of every 100, with fantastic criminal procedure and prosecution, 4 will die innocently. Nigeria, I am absolutely sure that 60% will die as innocents, as persons who are not deserving of such punishment. Go and check currently what happened in, I think about 2 weeks ago or last week, in Kaduna State. Why was the house of the NWC Northwest vice chairman of APC, why was it demolished? Why was the house of the senator, also representing Kaduna State, demolished? Why? The reason is because they are not on the same page with the governor, because they just formed a faction. Next thing, the governor took bulldozers there to demolish. So that tells you that we have a way of cherry picking the laws that we implement, and it depends on who is in power. It is not a rule of law. It is not a situation of rule of law as it ought to be. But it is a situation of who you know, who is in power. And that will now determine who will live or die. That is absolutely not acceptable.
All right, now let's still go back to the bill. And the bill says ethnic hatred is likely to be stirred up against any person or persons from such an ethnic group in Nigeria if a person subjects another to harassment on the basis of ethnicity for the purpose of this section, where on ethnic grounds he unjustifiably engages in the conduct which has the purpose or effect of A, violating that other person's dignity, or B, creating an intimidating, hostile, degrading, humiliating, or offensive environment for the person subjected to the harassment, and conduct shall be regarded as having the effect specified in subsection 1A or B of this section if, having regard to all the circumstances, including in particular the possession of that other person, it should be reasonably considered as having that effect. All right, that is still on the bill.
Just,
Quite
the issue of
verbose
ethnicity
there.
in Nigeria is a very, very dicey one. Yes, because as you are speaking, people will be reading you from the ethnic group you have from. Yeah, it's normal. But the point is this. For me, I don't have any issue with all these laws. The place I have my issue is our leadership. It's our leadership, because our leadership is the major cause of all the problems. If you take our leadership, we have not gotten a leader that is patriotic enough to stand for Nigeria. And in most places, our governors rose to power through ethnic or regional or senatorial district or whatever alignment and consideration. And once they get there, they empower their people. That's why I don't want to mention, wherever a governor is from, his special aids, his ADS, all those things will be like mostly from that place.
Like our person is there.
Good,
So,
our person
yes,
is there.
That's just the mentality.
When President Jonathan was in power, you can see Yoruba Bedem being so powerful. You can see Sarido Kuba being like a mini president. You can see so many of them moving around. Tombola and the rest of them, and government and the rest of them. They are so powerful because they have their man there. And because that their man will not caution them. So they will do whatever they want to do. And others will start speaking. So the point of this hate speech, as far as I'm concerned, it stops at the seat, the desk of the executive. If we have leaders that are nationalistic enough to call a spade, and go there and stand for Nigeria, and then conduct all their affairs in a way that will portray one Nigeria, all their nominations, all their appointments, all their attitudes, all their activities. Like what happened when the president of Federal Republic of Nigeria, I have to say it, visited Anambra State. He refused to pay homage to the Obi of Onitsha, which is the paramount ruler of that. Instead, he told the man to come to his, so I can see him. That's the highest traditional ruler in the whole eastern Nigeria, in terms of regard they give to him. He's equivalent of any other traditional ruler from other parts of Nigeria. But the president was angry that the man did not come to see him inside the square when he visited. But he went to Kano and went to Emir of Kano to pay homage. So the people from that east will start speaking and start venting their anger and say they're breeding hate. But your action actually caused that hate. The actions of our leaders. Take for instance a governor also. Wherever a governor is from, he will empower everybody there to start behaving.
But you agree now that this issue of ethnicity is a problem.
It's a very, very big problem. Okay, look at what happened. Look at Fani Kayode and the rest of them speaking vehemently against the Fulanis. Because the president is a Fulani man. And it takes the president a lot of image, a lot of time before he will come up to condemn anything done by the Fulanis. In Nigeria, so it's all Fulani stuff. If he happened to be a Yoruba person, some Yorubas will be over-emboldened. If you happen to be from the east, some people will be like behaving anyhow in the market.
So what's the way
and you will not
forward?
caution them, you will not even caution them.
What's the
The
way
problem is
forward?
our leaders. Leaders should stop patronizing their tribes. They should stop emboldening their tribes. They should call a spade a spade. They should come up to like stand as leaders of Nigeria. And all these things will die naturally. Not that when you are behaving in a way that will cause problem to people, when your behavior will go out and send a wrong signal, and the masses will start behaving, talking. They must talk. Every action of president will cause reactions. Anywhere in the world. That is why a president should be a leader of all. Should carry out actions that will reflect that unity, that oneness, fairness, and equity. You have all these things there. And then if a president is known to, like this, I always tell about Alexander the Great. Always talk about Alexander the Great. What made him great? The first person that fell victim of Alexander the Great was his your elder brother. He executed him, and everybody became afraid. Now this man can use his elder brother to launch himself into stardom.
He means business.
Nobody's scared. So in as much as they are coming up with a kind of coming up with a kind of things that may sound so sweet, because of the level of antagonism, the level of going on in social media between Igbos and Hausas and Yorubas and all these things. Well, sometimes I don't even open my Facebook. That's where you have
A whole lot goes on.
I don't basically go. If I go to Facebook, it used to piss me a lot. That's why I basically in WhatsApp. Because if you go there and see all the kind of nonsense going on there, I'll hardly put it off again. Because these people are like attacking and attacking. Whenever I say any policy, if the president's son goes abroad, they will attack. If the president travels abroad, they will attack. If there's any nomination, they will attack. You know, before you now do all these things, you look at them. I know what happened before. I said there was a time that there was an issue in the East, one state in the East, that there were massacre people in the church. Osibanjo was the acting president, then he went there. Osibanjo went there in person, commiserated with the people, and he didn't give them any kobo. The government did not give them even one naira. But his presence there sent a very big signal. And after that, they were able to resolve the crisis.
Yes.
But we have thousands of people murdered in Benue. The president did not show up. We have people murdered in Zamfara. The president did not show up. The president did not even issue strong statements. We have a situation where I think after a day after the Benue massacre, there was executive meeting, and the president attended, and he never addressed that issue. We have a presidential broadcast, New Year broadcast or whatever. Then he listed all the major threats for security. He never mentioned herdsmen. He never mentioned it in his broadcast. People are like, why didn't you mention this herdsmen? They've been killing people everywhere, even if they are people. So if your child is doing something wrong, so you allow the power to control your child. Must your child be a mayhem to people?
So ethnic bias, you're saying, can be curbed if leaders lead the right way.
Leaders lead the right way and ensure we have a fairness, we have equity, we have Nigeria. That's why I'm telling them we are here to have a Nigerian president. We are here to have a Nigerian president. The moment we have a Nigerian president, everything will just be sorted out. The problem we have in Nigeria is we are having sectional and ethnic presidents. Even if president is looking at me, I'm telling me, Mr. President, your tribe is your number one. Your number two is your region before Nigeria. Before Nigeria. When Jonathan was there, his tribe was number one. They were number one. He told people and everything about it was number one. Before his region, before Nigeria. That's the problem we having. The only person that even shifted a bit from that was Obasanjo. Obasanjo looked at Nigeria as a country more than all these issues. That was doing Obasanjo. Do we have hate speech then? No. Obasanjo would Tafa Balogun, IG of police, a Yoruba man, and deal with him ruthlessly. Obasanjo would go and kidnap him, an Igbo man, and deal with him. Obasanjo would go to North and bundle one asthma and deal with him. He doesn't care. And you see Obasanjo is a rough man. Everybody. There's no separate. He treats everybody. You have his confidence from the East. He has his confidence from the West. He has his confidence from the North. He's a bad man. He's a bad man to everybody. If he's good, he's a good man to everybody. That's what a leader should be. And that, we never had anything like his speech. Nobody was speaking again, and he was in power for like 8 years. So these things are like fallout of the attitudes of our leaders. Until we get it right there, people will keep on behaving that way. All
right. Also, the bill makes provision for the creation of the National Commission for Hate Speeches, which shall be headed by an executive chairperson who will be appointed by the president on recommendation of the National Council of State, subject to the confirmation of at least 2/3 majority of the National Assembly. And what's of interest there is that the responsibilities of the Commission, which includes to discourage persons, institutions, political parties, and associations from advocating or promoting discrimination or discriminatory practices through the use of hate speeches, promotes tolerance, understanding, and acceptance of diversity in all aspects of national life, encourage full participation by all ethnic communities in the social, economic, cultural, and political life of other communities. It shall also plan, supervise, coordinate, and promote educational and training programs to create public awareness, support, and advancement of peace and harmony among ethnic communities and racial groups. This looks quite interesting, but I'm wondering what is now the duty of the National Orientation Agency.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. I believe that the NOA is well, empowered, to do these things that they want to create a new commission, for. And one of the things that I would like to address is, it's not everything that legislation can cure. You don't legislate love. Do you understand? If even your nuclear family, you have siblings, your father can say, by force, you must like your brother. No. You will show it in your conduct. Do you understand? You will show them good examples. You will give them, an environment that will make it possible for them to like each other. And now going to ethnicity, like you said, ethnicity is not something that just started in 2015. It's not something that started, some 20 years ago. And the issue of ethnicity is something that when you're looking at in the area of orientation. Now, when people look at ethnicity, sometimes, in the big picture, you see North against South. By the time you enlarge your microscope, you see that even in the South, you have the South-South, you have the Southeast, you have the Southwest. By the time you enlarge it, you come to the Southwest, you have, Yorubas in the Southwest, but you have the Ekitis, you have the Ondos, you have the all of them, you know, and that reminds me of a quote that is attributed to Obafemi Awolowo. I don't know if it's true. That, you know, that the fight for, you know, self emancipation of people having states will not end until my native Ikene gets one. So that even when you go to Ogun State, people are saying I'm Ijebu, I'm Egba.
Yeah.
When it's time to fight, you know that forget that they are saying they are Yorubas and they are Ogun people. When they want to fight, they'll say this one is Ijebu, this one is Egba. By the time you go to the Egba people, you will see someone say I'm Abeokuta. They are the real Egbas and these ones there. So it tells you that this thing, it's a major problem and you can't cure it by just bringing one legislation. It is by orientation. We need to deal with it. We need to go to the root of it. Like you said, leadership is a major way of dealing with it. We need to go to the root, to the way we see ourselves. Do you understand? When you make rules, you are saying, oh, this is the person that want, you know, even from starting from state of origin, why do you need my state of origin? That's where you should start from. By having state of origin, you've given a basis for someone to align in one way or the other. Yes. Let me just be in Nigeria.
Police will even fair tribe.
Yes, now let
police
me be,
from the fair tribe.
That's where it starts from. If you look at it, let me be in Nigeria, forget it. Where was I born? Fine. But don't ask me.
Place of birth.
Do you understand? And then when I go to my state, they will still be asking me, am I Ijebu or Egba?
Yes,
and then after that, and then they will still be asking me which is my compound. They want to know what compound I come from. By the time they really look at the setting. So those are things that we need to look at seriously, not just by just creating, you know, one body to be, you know, it's just like this change thing. Change begins with you, and they are saying it on the TV. It doesn't change anybody. It's from the heart. You need to show me, you need to lead me that, okay, you're serious with this change, rather than you telling it to me. Things don't change that way.
All right,
Okay,
Justice.
okay, let me just take it from there. But let me give it first to the people who ask for states. Let me speak as their advocate, devil's advocate, maybe here. The subject of federal character in our law, section 14.3. So without provisions like federal character, we may not be able to know the spread of where people are from and why they hold such sensitive offices. But that's on the side. But you also asked the question of a fresh commission again with a chairman. This one is worse than the Peace Corps.
In what way?
Okay, the reason why is the Peace Corps, we are even contemplating or guessing that there will be funding from outside. But this one, there will not be funding from outside. That's number one. Number two is the president is from a particular part of the country. He will most likely not choose a person that is far away. He won't choose, most likely, an Igbo man. Because if he chooses an Igbo man as a chairman, and he indicts, the Igbo man indicts a Fulani man to be travesty. So we're already looking at complications. So that's number two. Number three is our civil service, our recurrent expenditure is too heavy as a nation that wants to remain as a nation. One of the ways you know if a country is functional in this part of the world is through provision of infrastructure. The reason why we are clamoring for an Ambode, for example, is because the governor of Lagos State is because he has put in so much infrastructures. In other climes, that is not the way to choose a president or a governor. You choose following LGBT, or is his position of what is his position on lesbians and gay rights and bisexual and transgender persons? What is his position on gun control? What is his position on abortion? What is his position on tax? So those are advanced climes where you cannot use infrastructure to trick them. So because of that, we need more money. We need to free up more money to build infrastructure so that the country can even be a country. Let's have more money for power supply. Let's have more money for transportation. Let's have more money for roads. Let us not create more agencies that will now take in more people and overbloat. We are even also still complaining about being able to control ghost workers. So these ones will come up now and they will bring ghost workers all along and it will spiral.
You're not even swayed by the responsibility of the commission, are you?
It is over-duplicated. We already have a national orientation agency to do much of these things. And if leadership is proposed, and like what he said, you see this hate speech issue, they didn't just even start now. And it is not even worse now. It was worse in the First Republic. It was in the First Republic when we had our great leaders, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Awolowo and things like that, and Sardauna and Sokoto. That was when they killed each other. That was when Hausas were talking openly against Igbos. And Igbos were talking openly against Hausas. And they were slaughtering each other on the streets. But now, that is not even the situation. We don't have any situation that warrants this kind of laws. The extant laws are sufficient to take care of this scenario.
All right, let me away from that. The Minister of Information on the 20th of February 2018 at a second national conference of the NUJ in Kano did say the federal government will henceforth consider hate speech as an act of terrorism. And, well, he actually did give a charge to the NBC to sanction any media station found allowing its airwave to be used for such activities. But it asks me,
the issue is that, with due respect to the Minister, Chief Lai Mohammed, how do you define hate speech? What is hate speech? What is hate speech? Because if you say that if somebody is found guilty of hate speech, is it when somebody is expressing what actually transpired? Is it when somebody is trying to preempt the actions of the government? Is it when somebody is trying to criticize the actions of the government? Is it when somebody is trying to review the actions of the government?
Well, there could be constructive
yes.
criticism.
Is it when people are yes, there are two, constructive and the other one.
Okay.
It depends on the one you want to use.
Okay.
And the law is not against any of them. It's only when it has you go all out to propagate falsehood or unnecessarily creates kind of animosity or hatred. But when somebody has done something, the government did something, and people come up to react to that, and instead of you to come and accept liability for doing something wrong and apologize, you go after that people. That government must be sick in the head. A media station is where people come in to express their feelings, to talk to a larger public that they may not ordinarily talk to at the comfort of their houses or their offices. And the people listen to them. That's why in America you always have change of government. How do you have change of government? Because people come out to speak. People write, people talk, people express themselves, people socialize on the social media.
But in
and collectively you have a new idea.
All right, but in all this, how can the people also be constructive in the way they react? We know citizens are entitled to freedom of speech, even if they are offensive and these speeches are hurtful. But how can Nigerians begin to find the right way to channel these grievances, these opinions in such a way that it wouldn't hurt, well, anybody?
It depends on how they interpret what is hot, what
The
hurts
truth
them.
hurts.
Yes, because if you interpret what's happened, like I mean, so many things going on. Like people that said that people captured 105 people and nobody caught them, and they were blaming the government and calling them names. Is that hate speech? Why should people cut away 105 girls and they would do police? They would do all the military checkpoints and ugly them. So what happened? Families were affected, friends were affected, and you don't expect them to start clapping for you or to come and tell you, Mr. Man, you did well, you have put them in the night. They will react, they will vent their anger, they will express themselves. If you provoke somebody angry, the person will react. So the people may curtail what they say. The only thing I'm against is saying something that is injurious, heavily injurious, something that is false, never happens, spurious, for just fabrication of what never happened. That somebody killed people pick a picture of that place and snap and start circulating it and say it's hate. What makes it hate? You killed. The bodies were there, they snapped it and started circulating it for people to know that something is going on. A lot of enforcement agents are not doing well. Military or police people that were deployed there couldn't work well. There was a policeman that was promoted, that was given a world what they call it, after he has died. Posthumous, thank you. In Imo State. How did people come to know about that? Because it was circulated in the whole social media, and people saw how the man was shooting God, eventually how he was killed, and he got the armed robbers that about 2 or 3 of them down. Yeah, well, that was not the same way they circulate something good, it's the same way they circulate something bad. Just my point. So what you should know is that let us find a way, in as much as we react quite well, but to find a way to make it positive. The government should also find a way to curtail their excesses.
All right.
To be conscious of the fact that whatever they do may have adverse effect on the people. And you must not come, like my friend here said, you can't be a father and you think that your children will not misbehave when you constantly abuse them, when you constantly side one against the other one, and then when you constantly deprive one of what's supposed to be his, and you're giving it to the other one only, and you tell that one to go and love the senior one, when he's maybe he's the junior, and we're empowering the junior against the senior, and they come to them and say there must be love in this family, there will never be love.
All right.
There may be love when you are around. The moment you go, they'll start fighting again.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, for coming on today's edition of Democracy and the Rule of Law, where we did discuss the president withholding his assent on the Peace Corps bill, and also the new bill by the National Assembly, hate speech bill, which stipulates death for propagating hate speeches. Thank you, Justice Ogeno, Seun Alade, and Joe Wokid for coming on the show.
It's my pleasure.
They join us 2:30 next Sunday.